D-Mace, Vingan, and Donick 1025. The game. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, and David Janes here with you. We are live at the Circus Sportsbook, Kentucky. We are handling some technical difficulties, so apologize for the delayed start, but let's get right to it. The Tennessee Titans actually win a football game yesterday. They defeat the Cleveland Browns 31-29 in snowy Ohio. And there was a lot to like about the Titans' performance yesterday, guys. They scored their first opening drive touchdown of the season. Tony Pollard rose from the dead and had a career day. The offensive line helped neutralize Myles Garrett, who had just one sack, despite the fact that we spent all of Friday talking about how he was going to have like 4. Special teams blocked a punt for the first time since 2012. But the main storyline heading into the game was Cam Ward versus Shedeur Sanders. And if you are a member of the anti-Cam crew, then you were treated to plenty of red meat on Sunday. Shedeur Sanders had a more impressive stat line, 23 of 42, 364 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, plus a rushing touchdown. He had a more impressive stat line than Cam Ward, who was 14 of 28 for 117 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. Sanders became the second rookie quarterback in the Super Bowl era to record at least 350 passing yards, 3 passing touchdowns, and 1 rushing touchdown in a single game, joining Joe Burrow. Ward, meanwhile, threw multiple touchdowns in the same game for the first time this season. But as we know, guys, the box scores never tell the entire story. So, Willie, how should we view Cam Ward's performance in that context?
I think he was okay. That was certainly not an easy day to play. They got off to a really good start. They went through some rough patches. I think when you look at the supporting cast, the fact that Myles Garrett is coming after Cam Ward, the Browns just have better players, I think. I think Shedeur has a better supporting cast. So if you're just trying to put side by side Sanders and Ward, I do think you factor in that was an upset. I mean, Cam Ward played well enough to upset a team that was about a 4 or 5 point favorite in the game. It wasn't always pretty. It's not going to be with the team that they have right now. But he made some nice plays. It's a win. I think you just take it in stride. The Saints won too, so the tankathon isn't totally blown.
It was a bad day for the tankathon.
It wasn't a great day for the tankathon.
It was a bad day for the tankathon. Derek?
Oh, I mean,
welcome to the show, Derek.
No, hey, I was, my internet is wonky right about now.
It's not good.
Yeah, I just think that, if you look at the stat line, of course, it favors Shedeur. And, you got to understand why. You're going against a much, Cam was going against a much better pass secondary. And even though Myles Garrett didn't get the sacks, they had to make sure he was accounted for with 2 players just about every time. So that probably took away some of the things that they probably wanted to do. So because you had to account for Myles Garrett. And then their back end, I know, their best corner went out, but still, that's a good secondary. And Cam did some necessary things that he had to do. Did he throw a pick? Yeah, but we talked about that, last week, where because they were gonna have to, pay attention to Myles Garrett, and because Schwartz loves to bring pressure, that quick game might just backfire on you, a player too, and it backfired. They came with a blitz, a zone. He didn't recognize it quick enough, and that middle backer came over right into the zone that the outside backer left and intercepted a quick slant. So, but outside of that, I think Cam played well. If you look at that game, and it one drive in particular, it was the drive right before he threw Ellick the touchdown. which was a really good play design. Um, the pass before that, I think it was like 2nd and 10, somewhere around there. And Cam went through, I think, 2 or 3 guys before he got back to the guy, Alec Manor, which gained him 5 yards. He went through his progression. You can almost you could see what he was looking at and how his mind was processing it. And he went from 1 to 2 to 3, and then he knew he had Elliott coming across and sitting right there at the goal line. He was looking for the touchdown. He couldn't see it, or it wasn't open. Then he quickly came down to the guy that he knew would be his outlet. That is progress. That is development. So when people say, I want this other quarterback, or like we had the guy last week say, I would have taken Locker and whoever over
Zach Mettenberger.
Yeah, Zach Mettenberger.
Lost credibility there.
Exactly. This is why I say the numbers don't tell quite the story every time. Because if you watch Cam, you can see, if you're paying attention and you're not being biased, you can see the progression and the development that he's making. It may not be this, jump from A to Z, but it's A to B, B to C, C to D, stuff like that. Little small things that I, as a former guy that have been in those rooms, can see that other people may not. So I think Cam did what he had to do to win that football game for the Titans. And I'm going to say this, and this may make a lot of people gasp. He reminded me of Steve McNair yesterday.
Cam Ward?
Yes, he reminded me of a young Steve McNair. The stats are not going to look good, but he's going to do the necessary things to win his team a football game, whether that's rushing, whether that's, getting out of the grasp of a sure sack and throwing the ball away. I saw Mac make that play, eluding a linebacker or a defensive end, and they got him, and he gets out and he throws it away. I've seen him do some of these things, or his stat line looking as if it's not a good stat line, but then you look at the game and say, well, they won. Because he did the things that were necessary. The stat line wasn't always great.
Right, and
that's
think
what
about
Cam
how many
is
times
doing.
Eddie George was supporting.
Exactly.
And they actually had a supporting running game.
They got some support.
Actually had a really good running game.
If they had a running game for the whole season,
it would help a lot.
It would help Cam tremendously. That's what helped Steve, is that we had Eddie George and we had a good offensive line. So they were able to bring him on very slowly. When you don't have that, everything falls on the quarterback's shoulder, and it shouldn't as a rookie guy.
Now, I'll say this. Sanders was interesting. He made some tremendous throws. He also made a lot of mistakes and hurt them at the same time. I thought, just to watch the eye test that we always put alongside the analytics, Adam, like Cam Ward, a 70.1 passer rating and a 19.1 QBR. Those are not good numbers at all. Shedeur, 97.7 passer rating, 56.1 QBR. Those are much better. I didn't think the difference in the eye test was that much. But I will say this about Sanders. He made some throws that were undefendable, if you will. Quite honestly, I haven't seen enough of those from Cam Ward. There are times where he's got that window and he just doesn't deliver it there. He missed some ones that should have been there, and a couple of times the receiver didn't catch it. It's like our weekly conversation.
Exactly.
Catchable ball that they don't make the play. But I thought Sanders made some throws were like, wow, that was a perfect throw. I want to see more of that from Ward.
But if you listen, if you have been watching the whole draft process, Shedeur Sanders was the one that was the NFL ready guy. Everybody said that. He was NFL ready. He was ready to go. But again, it boils down to your last name and who your dad is. They didn't like that. You can't tell me a guy that over the last 2 weeks what he has been able to do, meaning Shedeur. Now, listen, it's been a rookie. But I don't think that, I don't think he hasn't shown that he needs to be or he can be a permanent starter in this league. I think Shedeur has shown that. We are not getting the throws from Cam that we are getting that you see from Shedeur. Why? Because Shedeur is NFL ready. He's ready to go. Now his ceiling may not be as high as Cam, but if you're talking about a guy that you can put him in and say, okay, he knows what to do. It may not be flash. He may do some things that but this guy is ready to go. Cam, he still needs some work, but his ceiling is much higher than Shedeur's.
615-737-1025. Our phone and text lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We will take your reaction all show long to the Titans' 31-29 win against the Cleveland Browns on Sunday. Bad for the Tankathon. Bad. And we will talk about that at some point as well. 615-737-1025. We plan to be joined by Teron Davenport, ESPN NFL Nation Titans reporter, coming up next. 615-737-1025. Preds fans, Smashville Live returns Wednesday night at 6 p.m. on 1025 The Game, live from Brewhouse 100 in Bellevue. Meet your Predators players up close and personal, and also get autographs and pictures. The guests this Wednesday night, Luke Evangelista and Nick Blankenberg. That's this Wednesday night at Brewhouse 100 in Bellevue, and only on 1025 The Game. D-May, Svingen, and Donick, 102.5. The Game. Let's go to our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, and bring our friend Teron Davenport into the program. He is presented by Bart Durham Injury Law and fueled by Parman Energy. And Teron, of course, the major talking point heading into the game, Titans versus Browns. After the game, Cam Ward versus Shedeur Sanders. And Sanders had the more impressive stat line, but we're trying to keep Cam's performance and Shedeur Sanders' performance in the proper context. So how should we view how Shedeur Sanders played yesterday head-to-head with Cam Ward?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Shedeur Sanders, he played good football, and I think you got to give him credit for that. And two things could exist, right? You could have Shedeur Sanders as a good quarterback, and Cam Ward could be one as well. In this case, I mean, you also have to consider this Cleveland Browns defense is pretty good, you know, so it's not exactly apples to apples, but I mean, props to Shedeur Sanders for an outstanding performance. Props to the Titans running game for getting a win.
Today, when you're watching Cam Ward, and we talked about this at the beginning of the show, and Adam and I discussed it toward the latter part of the show on Friday, that listen, we know a lot of talk will be about Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders, but honestly, that's really not the story. The story is how does one quarterback perform against a really good defense and the other performs against a okay defense, and we saw how it was. But when I look at Cam, the numbers doesn't look great, and I get it. He's going against the #1 pass defense in the National Football League. But if you watch some of his throws, the things that he did, things that got them out of bad plays, it seems like to me he's progressing at a rate I think other people are trying to deny. I think he's developing in a way that many people aren't seeing, and I think it's the most important way that's going to eventually help him down the line.
Yeah, I think when you look at that game, obviously the stat line wasn't there, and you have people, both fans and media, that stat watch, and they only base it off of that. But there were some good throws in there. That throw to Van Jefferson was a really good one. I think you look at, you know, what he showed, the ball security, right, while Grant Delpit was trying to take him down. And I think you also look at, there were times where, you know, he's changing the protection. He's maturing 100%, and you could just tell that there's a comfort level that he's getting, and you like to see it because you know that with that is going to become more production. And I mean, look, he may not be the guy that's going to throw for 350 all the time, but you know that 200 to 250 that he'll probably get consistently, that's something that can win football games.
Now, another thing, TD, that I looked at and I was like, okay, this is a good sign, is Corey Levin. I think Corey Levin did an excellent job. Now, I'm not going to say he's the sole reason why they had the running game that they had yesterday, but I think he was one of the main reasons. No slight to Cushenberry, but I thought at the beginning of the season they should have held Cushenberry back, period. I think he will be a much better player next year because he's still working through that injury. But Corey Levin comes in, and that does something to me for the offensive line. It seems like they were more of a cohesive unit yesterday.
Yeah, if you watch the game the week before, you'll see that they ran the ball really well early in that game, and Corey Levin was blocking his behind off. They were, you know, he was a key part of that. So he just carried it over, and that's one thing I love about, you know, this game is you could carry over momentum from one week to another, and that's basically what he did. And I mean, he was definitely opening up holes, and he was a guy that was a key part of it.
Teron Davenport is with us. Teron, I was watching Kevin Winston closely. It looks like he's starting to feel good out there, feel more comfortable. What have you thought of his play?
Yeah, I think really against the run, he's always going to be effective. But what he has to be wary of, you didn't see it as much in this past game, but the previous two, it was happening a lot where they were kind of single him out, you know, with their route combos. And yeah, he's definitely getting better. And he said that, right, as he gets more reps, the speed and everything starts to slow down. So Winston, I think, is one of the exciting young players that you have to point out. But if I could just inject a couple others real quick, Cedric Gray continues to be
Mhm.
this. He's outstanding. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And I got to shout out Marcus Harris. You know, he's not the biggest guy, but he came up and he made a nice hit on that receiver to cause the fumble, and Gray picked it up and returned it.
And speaking of that, the unnecessary roughness. I mean, what are we talking about? That was a great hit by Woods. It just Mark Schlereth, I thought, did a very good job on the broadcast breaking it down. But what did you see on that? I thought they got a bad deal on that.
Yeah, it's one of those ones where it's a bang bang one, and I think the officials kind of reacted to that as opposed to the actual play itself, and it happens sometimes. Like when you have a quick hit like that, that's what you get. But I mean, look, Woods is a guy. I mean, you go back 3 years ago. I mean, he rocked Tajay Spears. If you remember that play along the sideline, he rocked him. So this isn't a dude that's not accustomed to making hits.
They did play hard yesterday. They had some good hits in the game, so I liked to see the fight there. What did you think of the Cleveland Browns 2-point play decisions? Pretty puzzling, and that you could argue was a break for the Titans that might have been the difference.
Yeah, it was a break, both of those. So first off, to go for two and not kick the field goal, I don't understand anything about that. I mean, or extra point rather. You kick the extra point, you're within 7. Like what are we doing here? It's a touchdown, and now you just had to get another extra point. And then they get the touchdown, beautiful drop in the bucket throw to Harold Fanning by Shedeur Sanders, and you pull him off the field. That whole dynamic of Kevin Stefanski and Shedeur Sanders, like I don't know if Stefanski is insecure and he's allowing Sanders, Shedeur's confidence to threaten that. I don't know what the deal is, but that is a bizarre situation. And you look, there was a timeout actually right before Sanders threw that touchdown. Somebody posted the TV copy of that. Kevin Stefanski didn't say a word to him. In what world does a head coach not talk to his quarterback, especially when that's supposed to be a quarterback guru? In what world does he not talk to the quarterback before one of the most important plays of the game? Stefanski, get him out of here. I'm gonna just stop because I don't want to say anything bad, but yeah, that's a mess.
Teron Davenport, ESPN, NFL Nation Titans reporter, has been our guest on D. Mays, Ving, and Adonik. He is presented by Bart Durham Injury Law and fueled by Parman Energy. TD, great stuff as always, my friend. We'll catch up next week.
I appreciate you guys. Take it easy.
Yep.
Teron Davenport on the program. So remember on Friday when we discussed Kevin Stefanski, hey, he may be on the hot seat in Cleveland.
2-time coach of the year.
Should we add him to the list of Titans coaches?
And what did I say?
Pass.
I think Teron just made his vote. He
That
agrees.
whole quarterback thing, I'm not too.
Wow.
No, you don't.
I do want to go back to something that Derek. First of all, I want to make sure I heard you correctly before
Yes.
I ask you this question. You said in the first segment that you think that Shedeur Sanders is more NFL ready
Yes,
than
I do.
Cam Ward.
I do.
Okay. Counter argument.
Okay.
Shouldn't the number 1 pick in the draft be more ready than a 5th rounder?
Not necessarily. I mean, you see guys that doesn't. You're drafting that guy not because he's NFL ready, but because you believe the potential that he has. And he will reach that mark quicker. Because they know just about every rookie is going to go through their, rookie wall or a rookie season. They understand that. But then after that, they see the potential of what that player can be. Bo Nix, he wasn't drafted in the number 1, but he was more NFL ready. Why? Because he had more hours logged in college. That's why I like, some of these quarterbacks there, Mendoza be the same thing. Because he has the hours logged, he's going to be a little bit more NFL ready, meaning he's going to understand some things a little bit quicker than what a Cam who's still young at that position.
I think the issue, Willie, for a lot of Titans fans is, although Shedeur Sanders made some mistakes, that interception he threw was a poor decision.
You saw that in college too.
And it's a common thing that people have said. He drifts back and back and back and then tries to throw it. And sure enough, that was a classic example. That was a costly interception.
He was under pressure all game long. In fact, he was pressured on 63% of his dropbacks, which were the most by any quarterback in a game this season.
And if the Titans
in
had
the NFL.
anybody besides Jeffrey Simmons who could rush the quarterback, they would have had several more sacks. They don't have a good pass rush.
But my point is, we haven't seen, despite the missteps by Shedeur Sanders yesterday, we haven't seen that level of performance from Cam Ward this season.
I think it's a fair point.
I think that's what a lot of Titans fans are hung up on when they talk about this game. They haven't seen Cam Ward throw for 364 yards, account for 4 touchdowns. They want that. We have not seen that from Cam Ward. I think that's why this is an issue for some Titans
And
fans.
I don't even need to see that because I know the limitations of the offensive line. Like they couldn't run half the playbook yesterday. They knew they had to get that ball out, and they successfully got sacked one time in the game. Did any of us think that was going to happen?
No. Well, you did take the under.
Yes.
I took the under, but I think they're number one. They got off to a good start. They weren't chasing the game from behind, so they didn't have to pass a lot. Where you give up 5 or 6 sacks is when you're behind. You got to throw. So they stayed in the game. But the game plan was smart. It wasn't designed to get 350 yards. It was designed to run the ball well, get the ball out quick, don't put yourself behind the sticks. So that's the context of if you're comparing Ward and Sanders. Sanders is playing against a bad defense. He's got one player worth a you-know-what on the team, one great player who played his butt off yesterday. Jeffrey Simmons continues to play great. The rest of it, Cedric Gray, I agree, is coming on. He's a good player. They got some young players. They think maybe you got something there, but that's not a good
Yeah,
not a good defense.
Not a good defense. Secondary isn't good.
But at the same time, I agree, week in and week out, I want to see the glimpses of greatness. You chose him first in the draft, and I just haven't seen that enough. I want to, like, there's a few, right? I mean, we can pick out, we all can think of the plays. Wow, great throw. I want to see a little bit more of that. Sanders in that game had several throws. You're like, wow, that is a top level throw. There was a small window, guy wasn't open, but he stuck it. I want to see Cam do that more.
Cam Ward was credited with 1 big-time throw by Pro Football Focus in the game yesterday. Shedeur Sanders credited with 3. So I think that's the issue. And look, we try to provide all of the necessary context in nuance. The game plan for the Tennessee Titans, Cam Ward was getting the ball out quick. His time to throw, I believe, was the 2nd fastest in a game this season. They were running the ball a lot. Tony Pollard, again, resurrected himself for one day. We all have that beat-up car, right? And you hope that you turn the engine one more time and it's going to get you where you need to go. I feel like that was Tony Pollard yesterday. You kick the hell out of the bumper. It sputters to life. You got one more drive out of this one. That's what it felt like for Tony Pollard yesterday. That game for Pollard came out of nowhere. So Cam Ward did not have to be as great as Shedeur Sanders looked at times yesterday. You can talk about the quality of the defenses, the quality of the support players on offense, all of those things. But Titans fans, I think there are some, and I understand it, who are hung up on the fact that Shedeur Sanders had the type of breakout game that we really haven't seen from Cam Ward yet.
And I don't think you're going to, especially moving forward with the defenses they got to face. I don't think you're going to see that, what you deem a breakout game. I thought, you saw a sort of breakout moment in the Arizona game where he, that second half, he was much better. That last quarter in particular, he was a lot better. Again, I understand the wanting to see that, because that's almost like, okay, that's validation for this stage. Boom, validation. And then you move. I understand that part. But I also know in this game that just because you don't have that doesn't mean you're not developing and ultimately won't get to where you want to go. Again, I saw it firsthand with 2 quarterbacks, a young quarterback and a rookie quarterback. They didn't wow you with the numbers, but one ended up winning co-MVP years later, and the other ended up being the MVP of a Super Bowl years later. So when I look at Cam, and I don't know if Cam's going to be elite or not. But I tell you what, if you surround him with a better cast, and again, this cast is young, and they got some guys that I think can be a part of something great eventually. But, you know, you got to allow him to grow into what he's going to be. He may not be an elite quarterback, but as long as he is a franchise quarterback, and again, I know franchise quarterbacks that won Super Bowls. You don't have to be elite to win a Super Bowl. Lamar Jackson, he's elite. Has he won one yet? Nope. Josh Allen, he's elite. Has he won one yet? Nope. I can go down the line, but then I can also tell you the quarterbacks that wasn't elite. Rich Gannon, that won a Super Bowl. I can go down the line of guys that have won Super Bowls that were franchise quarterbacks and not elite quarterbacks.
615-737-1025. We will continue to take your reactions to the Titans win against the Browns, Cam Ward's performance against Shedeur Sanders, and vice versa. 615-737-1025. But coming up next, an interesting report surfaced this morning about something said on the Titans team plane returning from Cleveland. We will discuss that coming up next. 615-737-1025. We are presented by Bax Homeworks. Financing options are available to make your remodel easier than you think with Bax Homeworks. Get a free estimate at baxhomeworks.com. That was Cam Ward after the Titans' 31-29 win against the Browns on Sunday. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan here with you. So Easton Freeze of A to Z Sports wrote a story citing a comment made on the Titans flagship station. Apparently, Arden Key got on the intercom on the flight home from Cleveland and said, quote, "You all enjoy this. Don't listen to what Cam said. You all enjoy this. It's hard to win in this league. Enjoy it." End quote. Now, we don't know what Key's tone was. It clearly could have been a joke. But what Ward said after the game yesterday, part of which you just heard, was not out of character for Ward. He has said many times that winning is how he judges his performances. So, Willie, Derek, what do you make of this?
A non-story, number one. I would bet a lot of money, I was not on that plane, that Arden Key was probably just trying to give Cam a hard time, just like most veterans give rookies a hard time when you get a chance. That would be my guess, but that's total speculation. Number two, I loved everything that Cam Ward said. And as you said, he's been consistent. When he stinks, he says he stinks. Day one, he knows his numbers didn't look good. He's got a higher standard for him and the team. Hang on to that. Nothing wrong with that. And I was surprised. I think Easton does a very good job. The tone of his article, like there was some attitude. Like I saw the headline, like, what about this attitude of Cam? I was waiting for a quote that had like something about a bad attitude. There's nothing wrong with that. Non-story. And then we've got getting something else here in a second, but I want to get D-Base's take on what was said here first.
Yeah, I just think Cam was right. Listen, winning, and this is why coaches, and I played for arguably the greatest coach of them all, and Nick Saban. This is why, he is harder on you after a win than he is a loss, just about, because he understands that, just because we won don't mean we didn't make a lot of mistakes in there. We just was able to overcome those mistakes. But we can't have them when we play against better teams. And Cam is right. And that's the attitude that your quarterback needs to have. He didn't throw anybody under the bus. He said, hey, listen, we just need to play better. We won. I'm glad we got to win. That's great. But there's still some things within that win that we need corrected. And as far as Arden Key, listen, I know he was kidding. I mean, you can tell by the tone of, when it was wrote in the article that, lead with that. Don't lead with, and I'm going to segue into this because I think you have something to say about this too, Willie. Listen, the guys over there at the flagship, I know a lot of them. They're great people. But there's one thing that is definitely a no. I don't care if it was plain or not plain, just because when you put out the article, nobody knows. Like, they're just reading the headlines. They're like, holy crap, like, what's going on here? Like, what's going on? Then they started reading. It's like, well, okay, so that's a little bit misleading. But with that being said, if I'm Borgonzi, I'm pissed. I am absolutely pissed. What we do on this damn plane, if it isn't criminal or something like that, then what we say and do on this plane is our business. You don't go back, spilling the beans like some little teenager, waiting to get, I'm going to put this out. Yeah, it was harmless now, but I give you an inch, you're going to take a foot. I would be pissed. I would pull them out of my office, that whole team. And I'm not saying that those are bad people over there. I'm not saying that, meaning at the flagship for the Titans. I'm not saying that. But there has to be a sense of the core, like, I can't, as much, I'm not even put that out in just. I'm not even put that out, and I know it's not true, or I'm making it lighthearted. I'm not doing that, because what is done on that plane, again, if it's not criminal, and we all know what that stuff looks like. If it's not that, then don't you speak a damn word that comes on my plane. This is my plane, not your plane. We let you get on this plane. This is a privilege. You don't come here and then take what was being said, because I'm sure Arden Key was just playing. I'm sure he was, because I'm sure Arden Key wouldn't try to undercut, the potential leader and franchise player and face of this organization. So I know it's just playing. But you still, in that, you don't have a right to put out what he said. So if I'm Borgonzi, hell, if I'm Amy, I'm coming, because I'm going to set a standard. Unless it's, y'all know, nothing we do on this plane, or I'm going to X all of y'all out of here.
Yes. That has been my experience as well, traveling with the team. There are certain things that are private and you cannot share. And I will be honest, I had to learn that the hard way for something a lot less benign, or a lot less. I don't know if I would say this is even significant, but I don't. There was some way that this story was packaged into some sort of negative thing about Cam's attitude. At least that's what the headline would imply. I thought it was just a contrast. There's nothing wrong with what either guy said. I don't see anything wrong with the dynamic. But a long time ago, and I would, if Will Bowling was sitting here, I would tell him my story. I was writing a little blog about a road trip, and the Predators won a game, and I shared a moment from the bus where it was just a fun moment. They were celebrating a win. It was nothing controversial at all. I thought it would be a funny little thing to say. Barry Trotz was on me hard the next day. Willie, come see me. I'm in room whatever. And he said, you just started traveling with the team. I'm going to tell you this one time. On the road, on the bus, and on the plane, that is off limits. You do not share anything that goes on that bus or plane.
And he's right.
And that's the rule. I learned my lesson that day. So if I were Mike Borgonzi, I would probably have that discussion because Will, I think, is fairly new to this. I don't know.
And maybe he did talk to Borgonzi.
Maybe he did.
Put it out there. And if he did talk to
Borgonzi, got clearance, then that's
or got clearance, then okay.
But I still, if I'm like Borgonzi, I'm looking at that
yeah.
going, that's not. Yeah. We don't do that
because that becomes a slippery slope then.
Yeah.
Because if it's that, and I would be kind of surprised if you went to Borgonzi or you went to PR and you ask and they say okay go. I would be really surprised if they allowed that to happen, because again, that inch turns into 4 inches, which turns into a foot, which turns into something else. Now it's, I can, and I thought, isn't all that stuff off the record? Which you can't, I don't, and that's just me. Again,
I think it's like that for most teams.
Great people.
I think that's basically the rule in sports.
Exactly. Once you're on that plane, unless there's something criminal happening on, and we all know, what is said on this plane stays on this plane. I don't care if it was funny, like something, like it stays on this plane, because if I allow it to get out of this plane, then it's going to keep on. Yes.
There has to be a sanctuary for the players. Right? I think that's the rule of thumb, is that you have to have a safe place where you can be yourself. Like you said, you can't be a criminal.
Exactly.
But, within, they have to be able to be free.
Exactly. They have to be able to say, if Art Key wants to say that, he should be able to say that, then it's not put out there the next day that that something like that was said.
I'm sure Art Key's probably not too happy about
dude, that. Man, come on. Like, seriously?
Let's get to some of your reaction. 615-737-1025. We have multiple texts to this effect. Do y'all think Shedeur would have had the same performance if he was in a Titans uniform yesterday? And that is one of the things we just heard from Teron Davenport, and we've talked about it as well. The caliber of defenses that Cam Ward and the Titans have faced this season. If you are sorting by expected points added per play allowed, the Titans have played the number 1 defense twice, Houston. The number 2 defense, Seattle. The number 3 defense, Cleveland. The number 4 defense, Jacksonville. The number 5 defense, the Rams. The number 6 defense, the Broncos. The number 7 defense, the Patriots. The number 9 defense, the Chargers.
When do they play the Eagles? They're number 8.
They do not play.
Oh, what a break. Oh, what a consolation. Man. They don't have to play the Eagles.
They do not play the Eagles.
It's unbelievable.
They played the Cardinals, who are 24th. The Raiders, who are 25th. They played the Colts, who are 17th. But again, listen to all of those top defenses.
That's a lot.
It's something that's important when discussing the performance of Cam Ward. And I know there are people listening who are going to say, you guys are just making excuses for Cam Ward. I think we've been fair when evaluating Cam Ward. None of us has said he's going to be the next big thing. We are all disappointed in how he has performed overall this season. But again, we like to provide context and nuance, and it can't be ignored that the Tennessee Titans have had one of the toughest schedules this season based on opposing defenses.
You would be, on one hand, you say, well, this Tennessee Titans team is a bad team, and the secondary isn't good. But then on the other hand, you say, well, if Cam was going against that defense, which is the Titans defense, I'm pretty sure he would have looked better than what he did yesterday. I'm sure if Shedeur was going against that Cleveland defense, I'm sure the numbers wouldn't have been what they were yesterday. It's an opportunity, and Cleveland took advantage of the opportunity. Shedeur took advantage of a secondary that is young and isn't as good, and a pass rush that can't get to the quarterback. So that leaves Shedeur Sanders with more time to sort of sift through all of the defense and find an open guy. Whereas Cam, it wasn't that way. So again, I knew the numbers were going to look different between Cam and Shedeur. What I wanted to see is, how did Cam operate against a top tier defense? And frankly, I think he did a good job. I really do. Does he have a lot of improvement still to do? Absolutely. But I think going into that game, I would have thought he would have gotten sacked 4 or 5 times. He would have thrown 2 or 3 interceptions, and it really wouldn't have been a good day. Now, the numbers don't bear it. They end up winning. He threw 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. He did what he had to do to win that football game for the Tennessee Titans. And the numbers were not gaudy, but he played within the system, and he did the things necessary.
2 comments. 1, on our text line, all of these good defenses don't impact Cam missing throws / wide open players. Another response, why are those defenses good? Because they played Cam and the Titans.
I don't think that's true.
Man, I see that I can't. I don't want to comment on that.
If you watch Houston,
one,
did you watch Houston last night against the Chiefs?
They went against.
They held the Chiefs to 10 in a game the Chiefs had to have at Arrowhead.
That's trolling.
That's a great defense.
That person's trolling. That second person, that's trolling. Now the first,
we're throwing the flag.
Exactly.
Take your flag,
Yeah,
D-Mace. We got to
throw the yellow flag.
Trolling
Trolling.
on the text
Number
line.
2 caller. But the first caller, that caller is right. There are throws that
Yes,
Cam has,
there
but
was
that
one
doesn't
yesterday that was
mean
obvious.
exactly.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that he's a bad quarterback. There's also throws that he's made that the receivers didn't make the catch. So I think people just look at it. Just watch. And I know a lot of people don't have the advantage that I have. I get that. But watch more than just the numbers. Like, just watch what he does. Look at the team around him. Really take that into account, because as Adam said, there's a lot of nuance in this. You know, it's a lot of things that, yeah, the numbers are not, but look at all. I mean, when he does hit a guy, he drops the ball.
Yeah.
I mean,
but he's, in fairness, he's missing some guys.
Exactly.
I just want to see more. I am underwhelmed most, more weeks than not. Like, in the big picture, I'm underwhelmed by the talent. And it's what I was afraid of, that, it's a reach for the first pick as a talent. And I think he can still be a very good starting quarterback. Like you said, D-Mace, if he ends up being a quarterback you can win with, it will be worth the pick. I do believe that. But I am underwhelmed by what the ideal prototype of the first pick is. He wows you. And there's not enough wow in there.
615-737-1025. We will continue to take your reaction on Cam Ward and the Titans defeating the Cleveland Browns 31-29 yesterday in snowy Ohio. 615-737-1025. Coming up next, we finally have the college football playoff bracket. And something tells me Willie Donick has a lot to say about it. So we will do that coming up next. We'll also continue to take your reaction to the Titans win against the Browns. 615-737-1025. Starting on Thursday between noon and 3 p.m., Chase and Big Joe will have your chance to win a $100 Moments Peace Salon and Day Spa gift card, and you can qualify to win a $1,000 Genesis Diamonds gift card as well. It's the 12 Days of Christmas on 1025 The Game. D-Mace, Vingen, and Donick 1025. The game. Wait. David James, I need you to cut that music. David, I need you to cut that music. I need you to play my music. Hit it. That's right. That's much better because y'all played a nasty trick on me on Friday by playing Michigan State's fight song as we were wrapping up the show. Well, here's Duke's fight song after my Blue Devils beat Derek Spartans on Saturday. So take that, teammates.
Man, I deserve it. It was a good game.
It was a
It
good
was a good
game.
game.
It was a good game.
Refs and backcourt. Man,
It was a
but it
good game. But I had to get that in because y'all played a dirty trick on me on Friday. I didn't even know that was Michigan State's fight song. Anyway, let's go to Tony on our phone line, driven by Wilson County, Hyundai.com. Tony, thank you for waiting. Please go ahead.
All right. First of all, I enjoyed watching both young men play. I'm a Titan fan. I've been a Titan fan ever since they was in Memphis, Vanderbilt, over here. So I'm a diehard Titan fan. No matter how you look at it. But the truth is the truth. The one thing that y'all didn't say about this game, number one, is you play who they put in front of you. And when I watched the game yesterday, Shedeur got sacked more times than Cam Ward did. And the real thing is Cam Ward has practiced, took reps all, how many games is this? 14, 13? He has taken reps all 14 games and ain't showed no improvement at all. And in that game yesterday, he missed wide open receivers because he felt the pressure and he was too scared to stand in there and make the throw. How many times yesterday did Shakur made the throw and got up off his backside?
Thank you for the call. Thank you for the call, Tony.
I mean, there's not much, I don't know. There's just like talking to a brick wall. That's what it is with people, and get it. There's one thing to say, he still has improvement to go to be had, but then there's another to say he hasn't improved at all. Again, if you watch the game only one way and you're looking for stats and all the stuff, then okay, he hasn't. But if you're looking at like the things that are going to be important move the ball. Listen, he's missed guys. And it's funny because the guy that he tends to miss downfield is DK. He seems to miss DK down the field more than anybody. I don't know what it is with those two connecting on deep routes, but it seems like he misses him. And the caller why you didn't talk about all the drop passes that Cam has had this year? See, you can't be selective in what you talk about, because if you're gonna give if you're gonna talk about the meal, let's talk about everything. Don't just talk about the dessert or talk about how bad the peas was. Yeah, the peas probably were bad, but the meat was really good. The collard greens got better than what they were the last time. So there are some things to that you're able to digest. But to say that he hasn't developed not one bit, and I get it. It's a matter of one's opinion, but you can't. Even the harshest of critics can't look at Cam and say he hadn't developed not 1 ounce. That is just like you trolling big time. And I know he may be too old to even know what trolling means.
Be nice.
No, because I'm damn near that age too. Now there's a lot of things my kids got to tell me, but to say that he hasn't developed at all, that's just
hyperbole.
Yeah, that's just hyperbole. You can't. I mean, come on now,
Willie. Any?
I don't have much to add. I think we've covered it. It's not all going to be solved today.
No,
it's a day-to-day process. If you look at the context, it's very different than if you just look at the set of numbers, which leads us into the college football playoff.
What a fantastic segue, Willie Donick. Yesterday, we were treated. That's one word to use. We were treated to the college football playoff bracket. All 12 teams have been filled in. Let's quickly run through the matchups. In the first round of the college football playoff, number 12, the James Madison Dukes at the number 5 Oregon Ducks, the number 9 Alabama Crimson Tide at the number 8 Oklahoma Sooners, a rematch from earlier this season. Another rematch from earlier this season, the 11th ranked Tulane Green Wave at the Ole Miss Rebels at number 6, and the 10th seeded Miami Hurricanes at the 7th seeded Texas A&M Aggies. The top 4 seeds, Indiana at number 1, no surprise after they defeated Ohio State in the Big Ten title game. The Buckeyes number 2, Georgia number 3, and Texas Tech number 4. Now, I would say the most controversial decision made by the committee was having Miami make the field at number 10 after last week being at number 12 behind number 9 Alabama, number 10 Notre Dame, number 11 BYU, and number 12, of course, as I just said, was Miami. Now, BYU was destroyed in the Big 12 championship game by Texas Tech 34-7. So BYU moves down the list. And the entire time that we've had the college football playoff rankings this season, 6 full weeks, Notre Dame has been ahead of Miami the entire time. But since BYU lost, they move down. Miami moves up. Notre Dame and Miami are side by side for the first time. And all of a sudden, the College Football Playoff Committee says, now we'll talk about head-to-head when Miami beat Notre Dame at home, I believe, on August 31st. That's how long ago it was. So Miami makes the field at number 10. Notre Dame, the first team out. BYU, the second team out. Notre Dame, by the way, took its ball and went home. Notre Dame will not be participating in a bowl game. So, Willie, I've set you up. I'll let you take it from here.
The bottom line is the process of selection is extremely flawed, and the leadership of the committee is extremely flawed. Hunter Yurachek was exposed so badly in the last 2 weeks alone. I wasn't paying any attention to what he said 4 weeks ago. Maybe I should have been.
Well, I don't think he was the CFP chair 4 weeks ago. That was Mac Rhodes, and then he stepped down.
Right. And it does make you wonder. Hunter Yurachek, he's the athletic director at Arkansas. As there was a Hog fan that chimed in after I, lit into him last week from South Florida on my tirade, and he said, "Hey, I'm a Hogs fan. I don't like him either." Like he was trying to hire a coach. Like, you wonder, like, that's got to be his priority. But to me, if you're going to chair that committee, you got to know everything. You have to know the tough questions are coming. You have to back your committee. And all he did was expose how bad the process is. He contradicted himself tons of times. And it also exposed the fact that the made-for-TV, let's have a TV show and discuss where everybody's ranked every week, is the worst thing you can do. And yeah, am I bitter about how Vanderbilt was treated? 100%. 100%. But I think if you look at it objectively, what I didn't like, I would not sit here and say Vanderbilt got screwed if they didn't make it, because you have to screw somebody, right? Somebody was getting screwed. Notre Dame got screwed, right? They were in it the whole time. It's different when you were never in there and you're arguing you should be in there, right? Vanderbilt was hovering on 14, and they're like, why aren't we in this discussion more? Notre Dame was in there going, hey, we got this. We just keep winning. We're going to be in there. And then they had to pull the rug out from under them. They're so bad. They're so mad. I guess they're not even going to the bowl game.
Nope.
Now, you talk about crying at your tears. You think Clark Lee was bitter. Notre Dame just said, we quit. We're not playing. Forget it. But the made-for-TV thing is dumb. You should take all the teams when they're done playing. If you want to do it the week before the college football, the conference championship games, that I understand. Because that's a tricky one, is how do you feel about how your performance in the championship game matters or doesn't matter? Because you're playing that game. But ranking these teams on the front end, this is what really ticked me off. if you put a blind resume up there of Vanderbilt, Notre Dame, and Miami, Vanderbilt, Notre Dame, and Miami, take the names off of there and put the numbers there, just the numbers, who they beat, straight the schedule, the league they play in, all of the context.
Vandy would be in.
Vanderbilt, I don't know if Vanderbilt would be in,
When
but
you're
you
talking about those
could
teams,
argue Vanderbilt should be in over those two teams. They have things that are clearly better. But this is what ticks me off. They weren't even in the discussion. It became a discussion about Notre Dame and Miami. Oh, they played each other. Well, what about that head-to-head game? Well, is that Miami? What about Vanderbilt?
They showed those graphics, and Vanderbilt was nowhere to be seen.
They didn't even bring them into the discussion.
Alabama, Notre Dame,
Right.
BYU, Miami. I believe those were the 4 teams that
Right.
were on all of the graphics. No Vanderbilt. Nowhere to be seen.
So they were eliminated for convenience. That's what it was. Now, you tell me. Pitt was ranked, I guess. Miami beat a ranked Pitt team. Notre Dame beat a ranked Pitt team. Tell me Pitt versus Tennessee. Pitt versus Missouri. Pitt versus LSU on a neutral field. Who's favored? Is Pitt favored in any of those games on a neutral field? Heck no. You know what Pitt's record is? 8-4. You're telling me that Pitt could go 8-4 in the SEC? No, but Vanderbilt, they didn't beat a ranked team. They beat Notre Dame and Miami beat a ranked Pitt team. Come on. So go through the process with the right timing, the right logic, with a full knowledge of nuance. Who did everybody play? Take the politics out of it. You should meet the week after the regular season ends for the first time. The made-for-TV drama is for the birds. It's a bad thing, and you got to get a better leader than Hunter Yurachek. He was exposed on how that happened.
well, if the message isn't, synced up, concisely in the way it comes out, then you're gonna have issues like you have now with Hunter Yurachek, where the things that he's saying doesn't line up with what has been going on for the last couple of weeks. You're right. It exposes the committee for what they're probably not doing. When Vanderbilt, and we talked about this weeks ago, when Vanderbilt was placed where they were placed in the first initial rankings, I knew that spelled trouble for Vandy. Because I guarantee you, they were looking at Vandy's remaining schedule at that point and said, "Oh, they're going to have at least 2 losses, so we can just keep them right here." And they did have those, but they were tough games. And if you watch the games, you knew Vanderbilt, especially in the Alabama game, they were much better than what that score indicated. That game was much closer than what that score indicated. They went toe-to-toe with an Alabama team who was getting to that point where they were peaking, and Vanderbilt was able to, you take out those 2 bad plays for Pavia, maybe they still would have lost, but the score wouldn't have looked the way it looked. But I think at that point, they put Vanderbilt in a spot where they were never going to crack it unless there was just this momentum shift. And Vandy won games that they didn't think they were going to win. Those 2 games against Alabama and Texas, I guarantee you the committee went in there thinking, "Oh, those are going to be losses."
This was a great passage.
Because both of them were away. They were away games.
This was a good passage to me by Pete Sampson of The Athletic. And he was really writing about Notre Dame and the outrage of Notre Dame. It is kind of funny that Notre Dame gets the raw deal, because often in the past, I think people would say they've gotten the benefit of the
And
doubt.
Notre Dame's AD went on the Dan
Yes, he
Patrick
did.
show
Yes, he did.
and said that the ACC has done permanent damage to its relationship with Notre Dame because of how they were stumping for Miami and not
Yes.
Notre Dame.
Right. And so he would say, I think he makes a good point in that it's one thing for Miami to argue for themselves, but the league was ganging up on Notre Dame.
I believe the ACC network played a replay, like 13 replays of Miami's win against Notre Dame.
But what is
which
he
was a very
supposed-
close
hold on.
game at Miami.
What is he supposed to do? He's their commissioner of
I
the
know.
ACC. Like,
But like Notre Dame has
Aren't I
got like a,
supposed to take care of
they're
my
a
family?
quasi, they're kind of in the ACC.
no,
Sorta.
you're a cousin.
They're
you
a
ain't a
cousin.
part of you ain't a
Right,
part of
right,
my
right.
household. You ain't my kid
That's right.
or
There's
my
a
wife.
separation.
You're a cousin. So I mean, I'm supposed to stick up for my kids. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It was 13 replays. ACC
13
Network played
replays.
13 replays of Miami's win against Notre
If
Dame.
you missed it before,
Here it is
Here it
again.
is again.
So here's Pete Sampson about Hunter Yurachek, the talking head behind the weekly farce produced by ESPN for the sake of creating faux outrage until the outrage became very real on Sunday. Last week, my colleague Bruce Feldman rage tweeted about the College Football Playoff Committee's seeming detachment from logic. I think I was using terms similar to that last week, although he was less diplomatic in his word choice. True, it was hard to argue that Notre Dame's belonged in the last at-large spot, considering Miami won the head-to-head meeting. Although I would say if they had won at Notre Dame, I would completely agree. They won at home in a very close game. So I don't know that that's a big factor. Instead of crumbling after a couple of midseason losses, the Hurricanes closed on a tear similar to the Irish. Against who, I would ask. And they still had that opening weekend win. The games needed to matter, which they did, unless we're talking about the SEC championship game, which apparently didn't matter at all. So I see the point. But again, Yurachek cannot weed through this stuff and be able to tell you clearly without being exposed as trying to float dumb stuff past intelligent people that watch this passionately every week, especially if you're covering it as a whole, like a Heather Dinich or Sampson or some of these college football people, or if you're looking at it through your team's perspective. The BS flag goes flying all the time because it doesn't make any sense. It's just rationalizing for one decision. And I get it. No matter what you do, two teams get the raw deal. But be better at explaining the process, because if you can't, it calls into a lot of question what the process is.
615-737-1025. Our phone and text lines are driven by WilsonCountyHunting.com. We will take your reaction to the college football playoff bracket. Did the committee get it right? 615-737-1025. We will continue the conversation coming up next. Mondays were made for Macero, big screens, bold flavors, and all the football action. From K's to the kickoffs, this is how Macero does game night. Macero Football Mondays and 12 South. Don't miss a snap.
I agree, Reese. This is a bracket that's going to be talked about forever, really. And not just because Notre Dame got excluded, but because of the framework that created the choices the committee had to make. And Nick talks about tweaks. There was a tweak after last season, what people didn't like about it. There's going to be something more than a tweak, I think, going forward, because all of a sudden, inclusivity, which most people in the sport think is a pretty good idea. Even Greg Sankey, the commissioner of the deepest conference, thinks that you can't have group of 5 conferences play and have it mean absolutely nothing the entire season if there's not a possibility of getting in the CFP. So inclusivity sounds good until teams like Notre Dame and Texas and Vanderbilt get squeezed out. Then people have a serious problem with it.
That was Chris Fowler on the College Football Playoff Bracket Reveal program on ESPN. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan here with you at the Circus Sportsbook Kentucky. David James is back at our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Skyler on our text line does lead me to my next topic. He says Vanderbilt and Notre Dame should have both been in instead of Tulane and James Madison. We don't need to watch Tulane and James Madison get whooped. By the way, Tulane went to Ole Miss early this season. Ole Miss defeated Tulane 45-10. The opening line on that game is Ole Miss by 16.5. JMU at Oregon opened at Oregon minus 20.5. And I don't want to belittle the little guys. I heard a report on ESPN that after Duke won the ACC championship against UVA, one of JMU's players stormed the quad at JMU with other students celebrating Duke's win against Virginia because it probably meant that James Madison was getting into the field. But to Skyler's point, does anybody want to watch let me rephrase that, because Tulane fans will want to watch it. JMU fans will want to watch it. But by and large, does the college football playoff watching audience want to watch Tulane go to Ole Miss, JMU go to Oregon, and most likely get crushed?
My answer might surprise you a little bit, because I do have a soft spot for the inclusivity. That's a good word by Fowler. And also, sidebar, thank you, Chris Fowler, for at least mentioning Vanderbilt in the teams that got screwed. But that is going to be the big discussion going forward, because I do think if you're in the same division, there should be a pathway if you're going to expand the playoff for the little guy to have a shot. Now, those lines are ominous, right? And very likely, of course, what we saw last year, the first year they did this, none of the little guys played well. They just verified or validated what everybody thought. They shouldn't be in there. But I do remember when Boise State had a couple of remember when they beat Adrian Peterson in Oklahoma, that great game in the Orange Bowl or whatever bowl that was. Was it the Orange Bowl? Maybe it was in Arizona, Fiesta Bowl. But we do live to see those great upsets, right? We do live to. So if college football, if those teams can be good enough to challenge, the problem is, other than Boise State, there really hasn't been a lot of those. Like, football is a game of manpower, right? It's hard for a game where you involve 50 to 60 players, 70 players that are in a game, for the underdog, that big of an underdog, to pull an upset in a playoff game. It's different in a basketball game. So with that being said, that's a philosophical discussion. But I think it's pretty special on that James Madison campus, right, where they get the word that they're in. Here's another quick thing. If Virginia wins over Duke, which they didn't, does Miami get in? The politics of it, right? If they don't put Miami in, the ACC gets no money. They don't have a team in there. Did that factor into the decision? Oh, yes, it did. I'll answer it for you. So, but that shouldn't be. It shouldn't be about that. But I guarantee you that's in the back of everybody's mind.
I do want to read a counter argument to what I just said from Stephen Godfrey, great college football columnist. He wrote this for the Washington Post. Quote, while you could argue 10-2 Notre Dame's value compared with other at-large teams, such as 10-3 Alabama or 10-2 Oklahoma, those SEC programs boast better wins against stronger teams and more of them. Miami's spot should have belonged to the Irish because Miami should have played in and won the ACC championship game, become one of the 5 highest-ranked conference champions, and knocked James Madison out. None of this is JMU's fault. TV revenue-seeking mega conferences such as the ACC are responsible for this by badly managing their product, even if they'll seek to blame anyone but themselves, end quote. Your thoughts on that?
I mean, listen, everybody's going to talk about, again, JMU being in. And the article's right. It's not JMU's fault. They, did what they had to do to put themselves in a position to be in the college football playoffs. It's just the things around them, sort of changed, and then how the committee saw it change. So I don't think you can blame JMU. I think you just need to continue to, stay on the committee. And what are the requirements? Are the requirements the same for an ACC team for an SEC team as it is for an ACC team? Are the requirements the same for a Big 12 team as it is for the SEC? Because y'all brought up a point. Alabama gets blown out of their SEC championship game, and it's not held against them. But BYU gets their pants beat down, and everybody's like, they don't deserve to be in. So you can't say on one hand, you know what, I'm a disregard that game. But on the other hand, say, you know what, I'm going to count that against you, BYU.
But the committee telegraphed that with Alabama by putting them at 9 in the standings before last week.
See, that's the thing. If you didn't rank before, then everybody would be thrown into the pot. Then you would have a real fair discussion.
I've got some bad news for you, Willie. According to Front Office Sports, the media rights contract requires 5 rankings reveal shows in the lead up to the CFP bracket reveal on the Sunday after conference championship game.
Not for logic, for money.
Right. So
and drama and
I agree with you that we should do away with the weekly reveal. As I've said before, I can't remember if it's 1 or 2, but usually in February, maybe it's in early March before the conference tournaments, but the college basketball selection committee will have a show where they reveal the top 16 seeds.
And they shouldn't do that. We got by for decades without doing that. Now we feel like we got to do it. No,
I would rather have
purpose.
1 or 2. If I have to have one, I would rather have 1, maybe 2, than 5 or 6 or whatever the hell.
I'll beat you halfway on that. I still think it's not necessary at all. It doesn't do anything. It just puts you out there.
You have to.
The data's not all the way in yet. It's like when I say, or we're sitting here going, hey, if the season stopped today, like on June 1st, I would say, hey, if the Mets season stopped today, they'd be the number 1 team in the National League. You think that matters now? No, because the season didn't stop that day. You have to wait until all the data in. So that is what they should do. Wait till everybody's played, put everybody in the same boat, and don't go off of what you rank teams but before. And that the Alabama thing is a really interesting question. How do you think Texas feels too? Sitting there going, if it, like the good point by Sarkisian is if we'd have played Ohio U and not Ohio State, they would have a much different resume that would probably have them looking much, much better.
Let's go to Dave on our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHunting.com. Dave, thank you for calling. Please go ahead.
Thank you for taking my call. I've got one comment. I have a problem with Miami making the cut because apparently they didn't even have a good enough record to make their conference championship. So these conference championship games are just a money grab, and they need to be done away with if they don't mean anything. I think Duke should be on that line instead of Miami, and that's just my take on that. If you're going to play a conference championship game, then it should mean something similar to what you have in the NCAA basketball tournament. And that's just my opinion. I appreciate your show and enjoy listening to you on the way home every evening.
Thank you, Dave. I appreciate that.
They're telling you that it matters with some conference, and it doesn't matter with other ones. They're telling you that. Thanks to the caller for calling in. We appreciate it. But they're telling you, it matters in the ACC. I mean, it matters in the SEC. Well, it doesn't matter in the SEC, but it does matter in the Big 12.
It took, by the way, the ACC's 5th tiebreaker, combined win percentage of conference opponents to send Duke to the ACC title game.
It also
The
has you
fifth
thinking
tiebreaker.
as a league, should you take control and say, look, for playoff purposes, because there was a scenario where the ACC got nobody in, and they could have maybe protected themselves by saying, okay, look, let's take the highest ranked team. Forget about the tiebreakers, and let's take. We just we got to do what we got to do. In theory, they could do that, right? The league decides who their champion is,
But
right?
then
Who's in the championship. For a tiebreaker, they could have just said, well, Miami's higher ranked. Let's put them in the ACC championship game. That way we know we're going to get somebody in.
And then I would be screaming, collusion!
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. So it's
But at least on the if they made it up on the day before, that'd be one thing. But if that was the league rule, then everybody wouldn't understand. But I think you might get a vote would say, yeah, we want our highest ranked team in there if it's tiebreaker.
Look, I watched the game on Saturday night. It was great. I was happy for Duke, of course, but I knew because they kept on showing the graphic. If Duke wins, chance of the CFP inclusion, less than 0.1%. Okay, tell me there's a chance. Let's go to Alan on our phone line. Alan, thank you for waiting. Please go ahead.
All right, so man, I worry about a lot of things here with Vanderbilt, just like Willie does. And I think that they're going to shut us out. Of course, they didn't want us to have a decent bowl game, but I think it's okay. But the bigger problem for me is I think they're going to shut Diego out, Pavia, because of his height, and I think they're going to diss us when it comes to the Heisman. That's what I wanted to say. If y'all want to talk about it.
Thank you for the call. By the way, Vanderbilt will play Iowa at the Relia Quest Bowl, in Tampa on December 31st.
It used to be called the Outback. It used to be the Outback Bowl. You know, it's a good bowl. It's the Florida.
Tampa is lovely on New Year's Eve. Tennessee will play Illinois at the Music City Bowl on December 3rd.
Yeah, I mean, look, that's what bowl game you go to if you're the first tier out of the thing. It's either Orlando or Tampa. That's how it's always been. Big Ten versus SEC.
Yeah, listen.
So when you hear the sponsor, you're like, what bowl game?
The Relia Quest Bowl.
Right.
It's the Outback. Outback Bowl. But I get it. I mean, Vandy, they did what they needed to do to put themselves in a position to make the college football playoffs. It didn't happen. I think next year, if they had the same season, they get in. Kind of like Indiana. There was more respect this year and no questioning in Indiana this year as opposed to last year. Maybe because of schedule and they had beat Oregon already during the season, so people felt that, this is a legit team. But in regards to Pavia's potential Heisman Trophy, listen, I wonder how close this is going to be. I really do, because before that Big Ten championship game, I would have thought that whoever was in ahead, it was narrowly, like whether it was Pavia or it was Mendoza. Not Ty Simpson, but Saren. Listen, I could have probably threw to those guys that he has. I mean, come on now. But the kid's a good player. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it in all tongue in cheek. But after that game, I said Mendoza won that for himself. Because last impression is going to be the impression that the voters see. They saw a kid going against the number one team in the country, probably the number one defense in the country, a bunch of first rounders just littered on that team. And that drive he needed to have to win the game, that throw was his Heisman throw. And after he won it after that, and he beat the number one team in the country. I don't know how they don't give it to him. I think it's going to be close. I wonder how close it's going to be. But had Diego played in the SEC championship game and had the game that he had his last game, I think that against Tennessee, I think that would have put him over the edge.
615-737-1025. Our phone and text lines are driven by WilsonCountyHunted.com. We have a lot of reaction to the college football playoff bracket, so we will get to that next. 615-737-1025. You can join Chase and Big Joe tomorrow from noon to 3 at the Dunkin', located at 926 Gallatin Avenue in Nashville. Willie, I think that's in our neck of the woods in East Nashville. Stop by with a stuffed toy and donate it to a child this holiday season. 1025 The Game is teamed up with Nashville Children's Alliance to give all these awesome stuffed toys donated by you. Just for stopping by, you'll be qualified for a 4-pack of tickets in the all-inclusive 501 Club at Bridgestone Arena to a Predators home game. A special thanks to the Metro Nashville Police Department, the Catalano Group, the Bluemont Group, Family Leisure, Thompson Machinery, Richmar Florist, Right Time HVAC, and Relodyne. For more information and a list of Dunkin' locations that you can donate a stuffed toy, visit thegamenashville.com/toy. That was Fernando Mendoza after Indiana defeated Ohio State in the Big Ten title game. Indiana winning its first outright Big Ten title since 1945 and defeating Ohio State for the first time since 1988. So you can understand the excitement.
He was
That
it
wasn't
was
just
almost
exciting.
it was almost like he had this Kevin Garnett / Will Ferrell in what's it called? Was it Talladega Nights? Was it Talladega
Ricky Bobby.
Yeah,
Old
Ricky
school,
Bobby.
like
Old
name
school.
your- yeah.
Yeah.
And it was like he was like
First of all,
I've never heard anything like that in my life.
First
it
of
was
all,
I loved the kid. I mean,
It was
I
hilarious.
smiled. It was like, man, this
Yeah.
kid. Like,
that was the
this is
first
cool.
time I've ever heard Fernando Mendoza speak.
Yeah.
So my first thought was, are we sure this is Fernando Mendoza? Did they pull aside the wrong player? Did somebody take his uniform and fool us all? But I love the emotion.
The emotion was
it's
great.
fantastic.
There was more. It was hard to hear it, but the whole thing from start to finish,
Yeah,
it was just really something. It was like, I wonder, like an NFL scout who's looking and go, well, you know, I like this guy. This guy could be the first pick in the draft. And then you hear that. Does that affect you at all? Like, it was so bizarre. But it was like a kid. It was like a 15-year-old kid that just like had never had ice cream before and like started trying ice cream. Ice cream's unbelievable. I can't believe it. I mean, it was just
So what you said, he was having a sugar rush.
yeah, something like that. I don't know. That was unlike anything I've ever heard.
But that's what happens when you win the what's it?
The
Was
Big
that-
Ten title.
No, I'm saying the first the second ever.
First outright Big
Yeah,
Ten
the
title
title.
since 1945.
Yeah, so you should.
First
man.
win against Ohio State since 1988.
Man. So
And who picked that game in Silly Underdog Picks last week?
Ooh.
This guy.
because you had
yeah.
the first pick.
But you also won this week, Derek.
And you were
Yeah.
complaining that I let other games get in the mix. Look at you.
if I had not won this weekend, I was going to
right. So
file
you're
a motion.
fair weather.
I was going to file a
Especially
motion.
because I won in another division, and he would have really been upset.
Yeah.
Like, oh my goodness.
Oh man, look, the previous segment, somebody was asking about the Heisman.
Mhm.
Indiana is a story. They're undefeated. I think if you're really looking at it objectively, there's no comparison to the stats and the value of Diego Pavia to his team. But sometimes the Heisman's just about a story. And as you mentioned, D-Mace, that last impression, the extra game, everybody's watching that game. They beat Ohio State. He has the one magical moment. That's the only touchdown pass he threw. His stats weren't that great. They only scored 13 points. And you could argue Ohio State still should have won the game. They credit Indiana. They made a couple of big stops. They missed a chip shot field goal that would have tied it.
Man, kickers.
But look, I understand why the odds are what they are.
By the way,
I
those
hope,
odds,
I hope people had already voted before they watched that game.
those odds on FanDuel Sportsbook: Mendoza minus 2,500, Pavia at second at plus 1,200. So a significant gap between Mendoza and Pavia. Greg Roberts on our text line says, "Buddy of mine said he deserved to lose the Heisman because of that interview."
It is the strangest interview. I hate to say it like it.
Good for him.
Is
I
he-
was so
now
happy
I'm
for
sure-
Now
him.
I'm curious. Is he like that every day?
He was having a sugar rush, man. That's
He just discovered ice cream.
Yes, exactly.
Is he like that every day when he comes in?
As I said, that is the first time I've ever heard him speak. I think that's the first time I've ever seen him without a helmet on. I can't say I watch a lot of Indiana football. I'll be honest with you. So it was a shock. It was a shock for me. One texter about Notre Dame not making the college football playoff and choosing not to play in any bowl games. Any team that refuses to play in the bowl because they did not make the playoffs does not deserve the playoffs. Their decision disrespects their fans, their players, their institution. It financially impacts their institution negatively, and it is the attitude of a child. I am incredibly glad that they were not chosen and that they have revealed their selfish immaturity. I would punish them next year by not choosing them, even if they make it.
I think this may end up not working out well. And listen, it's gonna eventually, people will get over it. But I think in the short term, this is not gonna be a good thing for Notre Dame, because it looks like, oh, we didn't make it, so we just taking our ball and we're going home. Forget y'all. It's like, listen, it's not like the team that they took ahead of you didn't beat you. They beat you. So they took them.
Right.
I mean, if you don't, I get it. The whole how they presented it and all the stuff they went on, it was
It was
dumb.
a bait and switch.
Exactly. But they beat you in the head-to-head matchup. They beat you, and now all of a sudden, you don't want to play. You want to take your ball like we just gonna play. But then you and I talked about this, Willie. The extra practice time that you get when you have bowl games, all gone now. Why wouldn't you want those guys to have that extra time? What did you say to convince them to say, or did you even really give them a choice? Like really give them a choice?
I think it's
You
impulsive.
guys don't want to practice anymore,
Because
right?
I would, as a senior, I would have wanted to play. Regardless
you got
of
one
what.
game left. Yeah.
Exactly. I would have wanted to play that last game.
I think it was an impulsive thing. It's one of those things probably where that decision feels really good in the moment.
Yes.
Screw you.
I've did that
We're
before.
not going.
I've done that before.
I'm not going. We're not playing. We got ripped off, and I'm going to show you we're not going. And then you get back home about 24 hours later, like, we don't have any more games. What are we're not allowed to practice?
We can't even practice.
We got a lot to do here. Like, what were we thinking? Like, I think the further removed from that decision, you're going to regret it.
Here's an interesting wrinkle that I have seen reported in multiple places, but I'm reading it from ESPN.com. Quote, as part of a memorandum of understanding signed last year that guarantees that the field will have at least 12 teams in 2026 and beyond, Notre Dame would be guaranteed a spot if it finished in the top 12 starting next year.
How do you do that? How do you just guarantee a team, like one team? How do you just
we saw it week in and week out how they manipulated the rankings. They can rank them wherever they want.
Exactly.
They had Pitt ranked in the top 25 over Tennessee. Come on, like it's all convenience. You find reasons to put teams in or teams out. You manipulate.
One texter says, I agree with you, Adam, on my point about do we really want to watch JMU and Tulane get slaughtered in the first round? But in the end, does it really matter with regards to who the national champion will be? Not really. It only matters for that first weekend, and that's it. I understand that point. I'm not expecting JMU or Tulane to go on some sort of Cinderella run here. But I know it's apples and oranges comparing the college football playoff to the NCAA men's basketball tournament. But there are only 12 teams in this one versus 68 teams.
Now,
I want to see the best 12 teams. No disrespect to JMU. I have a lot of friends who went to JMU in Harrisonburg, Virginia. Lovely part of the country. But I just don't. I'm not sure I'm going to turn on that game because I'm expecting a blowout. Same with Tulane and Ole Miss. I've seen that game already. Ole Miss won 45-10. How different is it going to be this time?
Well, they don't have Lane.
Lane Kiffin.
Lane Kiffin, the villain.
Well, Lane probably don't care. Okay, because I'm trying to make sure.
JMU, by the way, went 12-1 overall, 8-0 in the Sun Belt. They played one Power 4 team all season, lost to Louisville 28-14.
Okay, last year, what was the big, talk? Arizona State.
Arizona State.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it was different last year because of the guaranteed conference
They got a
champions.
bye.
But I get that. But people know Arizona State doesn't deserve. They lost what 3 games last year, I think.
But my man Cam Scatterbo.
Yeah, but they got
played well.
in.
He
They
was
had
awesome.
to bye, and they made that a hell of a game against Texas.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That went down to the wire. So now it made people rethink. Like, okay, maybe it's not a bad thing to throw a team like. And I'm not saying that JMU is Arizona State. But when Arizona State got put in last year, everybody was like, why are they in? Why do they have a bye? And they showed you why they had a bye, because they took a damn good Texas team, to the wire.
Look, when that game's on, I would love to see James Madison.
I'm going to
give me a
watch
good
the
game.
JMU
I'd like
game.
to see it. But, and remember that, like, the Boise State, there was all this clamoring. They were winning. Hey, let's get the little guy in there. Hey, there was one year, maybe a couple years after that, Hawaii went undefeated, and they got in the Sugar Bowl. And everybody was like, yeah, they deserve to be in there. And they played Georgia, and they got slaughtered. And it was like, that's why we don't put the little guy in the big bowl sometimes.
Right. If Ole Miss does exactly what it did to Tulane a couple of months ago and beats the Green Wave 45-10 in the first round of the college football playoff, That's what we're going to be hearing. Tulane didn't deserve to be in. It doesn't matter that they won their conference. This is what we get.
It might get the rule changed
Yeah.
if it goes like that. It will influence what decisions are made.
One texter says, bluntly, F the G5. LOL.
Hey,
Well,
now let's relax.
We brought this up earlier. David, let's get your take on this because you follow Memphis. And, Memphis is one of those teams that would be right on the fence probably. But what would be more compelling? Having that group of teams, James Madison, Tulane, etc., play like an 8-team playoff, and then you have a separate division above, which has been talked about a lot, right? It's been talked about out in the open, but they keep everybody together. But it looks like this is going to push it further to that. Where, like in high school, that's why we have more classifications. If you look at most states, maybe 50 years ago, they probably had 3. When I first got to Nashville and went to Vanderbilt, there were only 3 classifications and no private schools. It was A, AA, AAA for the whole state of Tennessee. Now they got 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now they got the privates 1, 2, 3.
They got 9
right. So
classifications.
they've gone from 3 to 9 in a generation, basically. What if you did that for college football and you had basically tier 1, tier 2, and had a national champion among the group of 4? Group of 5, and a group of 5.
I think it would make sense because, again, the FCS has that as well. So I think that would, honestly, it would build up, the group of 5s from what it seems. I mean, again, Memphis, a few years ago before Mike Norvell went to FSU, they obviously played in the Cotton Bowl against Penn State. It was a close game at first, but then, obviously Penn State, shows why they are the Power 4 conference like they are. It makes sense. You see like the little guys like UCF when they won the national championship back in 2017. I think it would make more sense to do that, especially now with them wanting to go to 16 team playoff.
615-737-1025. We'll continue to take your thoughts on the college football playoff bracket. It's over and done with. Vanderbilt, by the way, will play in the ReliaQuest Bowl against Iowa in Tampa on December 31st. Tennessee will play Illinois at the Music City Bowl here in town on December 30th. 615-737-1025. We will get back into the Titans. Coming up next, the Titans win 31-29 against the Browns. We'll take your reaction to that as well. 615-737-1025. We are presented by Bax Homeworks. Remodeling done right. Get a free estimate at baxhomeworks.com. D-Mace, Vingen, and Donick, 102.5. The Game. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, and Adam Vingen here with you. We are live at the Circus Sportsbook, Kentucky. David James is back at our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is about great service. Always about great service, I should say. Always. Not sometimes, not occasionally, always about great service. Before we shift gears back to the Titans, we do have a couple of callers on the college football playoff on our phone line. Let's start with Trey. Trey, thank you for calling and waiting. Please go ahead.
Hey guys, how y'all doing today?
Good, thank you.
Hey, I wanted to ask y'all, each one of y'all, realistically, okay, forget about the team that Indiana had, forget about the team that Pavia had. Do you honestly believe in your heart that Mendoza is better than Pavia?
Thank you for the call, Trey.
I think it's pretty clear that he is a better pro prospect. His game translates to the pro game better than Pavia.
But the Heisman Trophy is not about your pro prospects.
And I think that's the point. I think if you're looking at who's the better college football player, then that's where I think Pavia has his best argument. I think you could look at the stats. I think you can look at the degree of difficulty of the schedule that Pavia played and the team he played on. How many times his team was the underdog compared to Indiana? And this is splitting hairs because Mendoza is a heck of a player and Indiana is a heck of a story. And I think ultimately the story, the narrative is going to probably prevail if history repeats. But, you know, I do not bat an eye in saying I try to take all of my Vanderbilt prism out of it. I think Pavia deserves the Heisman.
Based upon what Pavia has done, I think, you know, he deserves it. Not just to be there. I think at one point we were saying he just needs to be there. But now, you know, he has a real opportunity to win. And if he does win it, I wouldn't be surprised, not one bit. It would be well deserved. I just think when you are the number one team in the country, because that's what they end up being, and have a moment that you had while playing the number one team in the country, that's what voters are looking at. And had Pavia been able to play in the SEC championship game, and there's no doubt that I don't believe that, you know, he would have played. I believe there's no doubt I wouldn't have believed that he wouldn't have went out there and had a great game, because I think he would. But that last performance he had was just a week too early, because, you know, they just started. When did they open up the voting for Heisman?
Saturday.
Yeah, Saturday, and the game was over with. They had played last week, so had they opened it up that week, then okay, Pavia
early voting.
Exactly.
Are we talking
Pavia
early voting?
had more people voting for him. But I think because it opened up Saturday and Pavia didn't have a stage to play on, you know, it was almost like, it was really, honestly, in my opinion, it was between whoever won that game, San or Mendoza.
And if that's a fringe benefit from your team playing in a conference championship game, you know, sometimes it's maybe not an advantage. It certainly wasn't for BYU. I guess it was okay for Alabama, but you see what I'm saying? Like, if that's a fringe benefit to the victor go the spoils, I can live with that. I would ask this, and this may end up being a question that the Titans are dealing with right now, because we're not sure if there is a hands down first pick in the draft quarterback, and Mendoza might be as good of a candidate as there is right now. Do you guys watch Mendoza? Like, when you watch Pavia every week, there is no doubt everything runs through him.
Of course.
He elevates everybody, everything about that program, from the actual play on the field to the residuals, the leadership, the swagger. He's got this huge impact. I have to admit, I don't watch Indiana play every week, but does Mendoza have that? Like, is he that good? Like, he hasn't blown me away, but obviously he's led his team to a undefeated season.
by the way, his numbers in the Big 12 title game, as Derek said, he made some huge throws,
Yes,
including that
key
30
throws at key times, no
Yes,
doubt.
He made
Against
that
a great defense.
made that 33-yard pass with under 3 minutes left to help seal the game for the Hoosiers. So he made some huge throws. His numbers in the game, if you're just looking at the numbers, were unimpressive. 15 of 23 for 222 yards, a touchdown, and an interception.
He did more to help his team win that game than lose it. And when you're going up against the number one team in the country, people don't expect it to be perfect, going against that defense. Again, I just think in this situation, last person that played may get the benefit of the last voting, or the start of the voting and the end of the voting during the weekend, this past weekend. Again, I think Pavia has done enough, just like Vandy. I thought they did enough to make the college football playoffs. I think Pavia did more than enough to win the Heisman Trophy. But when you look at it, it's like when I started looking at the scam, I'm like, man, it's between these two guys. Whoever win this game, they're going to win the Heisman. That's just the way I felt at watching it.
And there are 900 voters. You would love to think that, especially for the last 2 or 3 candidates, that all of those voters have watched all of the games. But the reality is, we know that's not true. You would really have to watch Pavia every week. You can look at the
appreciation of who he is as a player.
Yes, the numbers side by side. He doesn't have to take a back seat to Mendoza. No. His numbers are better. If you look at the rushing yards, he's got way better numbers than Mendoza. So, but you know that some of the voters are going to open up the ballot and say, "Oh, undefeated. Hey, I saw that pass he threw against Ohio State.
They beat them.
They beat him. Country. I'm voting for Mendoza. But if you watch both teams every week, and I have not done this for Indiana, and I'm not a Heisman voter, I just wonder how you would feel.
Let's go to Gary on our phone line. Gary, thank you for waiting. Please go ahead.
Hey, I just wanted to ask y'all about Jordan White, offensive lineman for Vanderbilt. He got offensive lineman of the week 2 or 3 times. Does he or any other lineman have a shot at getting all conference? And does Clark Lee have a shot at getting SEC Coach of the Year? No,
thank you for the call, Gary. Now, I can't answer the offensive line question. That might be a better question for Willie. Of course, Clark Lee should have an opportunity to win the SEC Coach of the Year.
But I know Cignetti's going to win National Coach of the Year. Right. But, I mean, again, just like Diego, Clark Lee, he's done exactly what he's supposed to do. He's building up that program, that excellent season. Should he be in the running or should he win Coach of the Year? Absolutely. But hey, the Indiana story is a little bit better right now. And that it may be that way for Mendoza as far as the Heisman.
And there are no stats for a coach.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? That's the other thing that's so arbitrary. And I vote for the Coach of the Year as an NHL broadcaster. And my colleagues, it's all the NHL broadcasters. We always struggle because it's hard.
Yeah.
Because there's always more that we put the finalists, we do 1, 2, 3. There's always 5 or 6 that are very worthy of winning the whole thing. What did you think about what that team was going to do beforehand? Who's overachieved the most? But there's a lot to be said for taking a team that was supposed to be really good and having them be undefeated.
Exactly.
So, look, Cignetti is an incredible story. Like, that is tough, but so was Clark Lee.
Chad says, in my mind, in the big games, Oregon and Ohio State, Mendoza made the big plays. I remember Pavia having costly turnovers in the Bama and Texas games that kept them from winning. He gives Mendoza the slight edge.
That's what they're going to hold against.
Yes.
Because I went
fair.
back.
That's a fair argument.
Yeah, I went back and looked at Mendoza, and he's been consistent the whole season. I think I saw Diego had, I think, 4 or 5 games under 200 yards. And Mendoza had like 3, just under 200.
But I think if you look at the efficiency of the offense overall, Vanderbilt's offense was more efficient than Indiana's.
Yeah, but again, it's these margins. It's like, okay, what did Mendoza do? Like Texas said, what did Mendoza do against Ohio State and Oregon? He made the plays. Let's say, what did Pavia do against Alabama in particular? Alabama.
You're right. You're going to nitpick the big moment. And so you're almost holding him to perfection because had he played great in those 2 games, that's like the perfect season. Like,
that's how
I don't know. I don't watch Mendoza.
Be.
Did Mendoza have a bad game? And there's some weeks where he didn't have
But he didn't have like that. I don't think he had that. And I could be wrong. I don't
Look
think
at
he
the
had
week
that
by week.
costly game.
Well,
that
I mean,
Diego
obviously
had.
they didn't lose
Yeah,
a game,
didn't
so
lose a game, yeah.
it didn't cost him that much.
The argument you're going to hear from Vanderbilt, and you've heard Diego Pavia himself say it, Vanderbilt's ascension coincides with the arrival of Diego Pavia. Indiana had a great season last season without Fernando Mendoza. Curtis Rourke was the quarterback of the Hoosiers last season. They had a great season.
But they didn't go undefeated, and they went
That's
Big Ten
true.
championship.
I'm telling you what Vanderbilt is going to try to tell you about Pavia. Without Pavia, we're not here. Indiana was there or close to being where they are right now without Fernando Mendoza. That is an argument that's going to be made in Diego Pavia's
Which brings
favor.
up, again, the criteria, which is so simple. Best player in college football. Does something a guy did last year the start of the build, should that factor into this year, or should it only be in this year? It's a good philosophical question, and it's up to the voter, right?
Well,
Nobody's going to tell the voter. If the voter wants to put that in there, he can, he or she.
Yeah, but I mean, if you're talking just the pure best player in college football, I don't think San and Mendoza would even be up there. I think it would be Diego. I think it would be Love. I think it'd be the Texas Tech quarterback. So there may be other guys in that sort of category when you're just talking about all around, because Diego is the best all around player.
Okay, so here's another question. Geographically, in the Southeastern Conference circles, will the voters who take up those, for lack of a better term, let's sound fancy, precincts, will they all vote for Mendoza? Or will they all vote for Pavia? Just because they may have a better understanding of the history of Vanderbilt, the context of what he has done for them. They have a better understanding than maybe somebody voting in Big Ten country. And maybe those voters are a little more divided between, because Notre Dame's up at that geographically as well. Is there a little bit of a split in votes, or does Mendoza just carry all of that Big Ten territory?
Here's another thing I don't know. This is a better question for Joe Rexroad. So, Joe, if you're listening, text me. I'm curious how the Heisman Trophy ballots are dispersed. Willie, you mentioned voting for the Jack Adams Award in the NHL, the Coach of the Year Award. I vote for multiple awards in the NHL, including the Hart Trophy, the Calder Trophy, the Norris Trophy, the Selke Trophy, and the Pro Hockey Writers Association tries incredibly hard to make sure the conferences are all equally represented. They know that there are a ton of hockey writers in Toronto and Montreal and Ottawa and that part of Canada in the Northeast. They try to make sure that the Eastern Conference, the Western Conference, the Southeast, the West Coast, Canada, it's all as equally represented as it possibly can. So there's no bias. I don't know how that works for the Heisman Trophy voting. I imagine that the majority of people voting for the Heisman are based in our area of the country, in the Southeast, and so on. So I'm not sure how that works. I'm not sure if that plays into Diego Pavia's advantage. Let's go to Stephen on our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHunting.com. Stephen, thank you for calling. Go ahead.
Hey, what's up, guys? Always nice to be on the phone with the best Titans wide receiver of all time, Mr.
Thank you.
Derek
That really means a lot. Oh, you meant Derek.
Yeah.
I thought he was going to say the best show going, the best team.
Which he would have been
He
right.
just wanted to pat D-Mace on the back. That's all he wanted to do.
There's only one Titan that wore that 8-5 the way he did, like Gruden said, with them quick feet on third down. But I just want to say, man, they have to fix the college football playoff for the simple fact that Tulane and James Madison, if they are to make it, it should be a first four play-in with the last two teams. So it should be like James Madison versus Vandy and Tulane against Notre Dame. And that's the first four to open it up. But you cannot have a college football playoff with James Madison and Tulane. I'm sorry. Texas would beat them. I mean, you can't say who would beat them, but there's so many other teams that we'd love to see. Vanderbilt had the season of dreams being made, and they cannot have a chance to close it out. I'm a Vols fan, but I would have rooted for them through and through, and it's just sad they didn't make it, man. I just want to hear y'all's thoughts.
Thank you for the call, Steven.
That's the difference between a Vanderbilt fan and a Tennessee fan.
Yes.
I do know a lot of Tennessee fans that grew up in Nashville. They appreciate Vanderbilt, and so they're kind of like, Tennessee's out. I'll root for Vanderbilt. You will never get it the other way around, right? A Vanderbilt fan will never say that. Oh, I'm rooting for Tennessee. Now that Vanderbilt's out, I'll root for Tennessee.
But
that is the difference. But
it's an interesting idea.
I do like that idea because you can still say, look, we're giving you a shot. Let's be honest here. You probably aren't supposed to be here, but we want to be inclusive. You play in this division. We're going to give you an avenue, but you got to win an extra game. I'm for that.
Ross
you think Clark Lee would sign up for that?
Yes.
You think
Notre
Dame would participate in that?
Played in the parking lot.
Ross Dellinger of Yahoo Sports put together what a 16-team college football playoff would have looked like this year based on the criteria. These would have been the matchups starting with 1 versus 16. Indiana versus JMU. Where is 2? Come on. Where is 2? I don't even see 2. Oh, Ohio State versus Tulane.
Ohio State's still 2?
Ohio State is still 2.
Oh, they're not.
Even after they lost to Indiana?
Yes, they moved down 1 spot.
Exactly.
So Indiana versus JMU. Ohio State versus Tulane. Georgia versus Vanderbilt in the 3-14 matchup.
Bring it.
Texas Tech versus Texas in the 4-13 matchup. This is not well spaced. Oregon versus BYU in the 5-12 matchup.
Oh, 5-12. Give it to me.
Ole Miss versus Notre Dame in the 6-11 matchup. Texas A&M versus Miami in the 7-10 matchup. Oklahoma versus Alabama in the 8-9 matchup.
Vanderbilt should be seated 10th. Miami 14th.
See, you still complaining.
I'm
really?
kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
615-737.
No, I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding.
615-737-1025. We'll continue to take your thoughts on the college football playoff, the Heisman Trophy race, and the Tennessee Titans, who defeated the Browns 31-29 yesterday in Ohio. 615-737-1025. We are presented by Bax Homeworks. Remodeling done right. Get a free estimate now at baxhomeworks.com.
how much did the complementary nature of today's football game on all three phases kind of allow you to do more of that where it wasn't all on you, or you not necessarily feeling like it's all on you that way?
I don't think it's all on me. If it is all on me, that's the responsibility that I want. And I just think us playing complementary football, for majority part of the game, it's what reason that won us to the game was getting some stops on defense, special teams making some plays for us, and then our guys on the outside and Tony Pollard making plays.
That was Cam Ward after the Titans defeated the Cleveland Browns 31-29 yesterday. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, and Adam Vingan here with you. We do have a text we need to read about Vanderbilt and Diego Pavia. I will try to do it justice, texter. Let me get in the spirit here.
Okay.
Clear my throat.
You're good at this, by the way. This is something you channel the texter.
All right,
here
I go.
Channel the texter.
Still talking about Vanderbilt and Pavia? Oh, my God. The only bias is the local bias for Vanderbilt. Stop, please. Vanderbilt and Pavia are only succeeding in making themselves seem immature and petulant. Sore losers. All you need to do is move on. Pavia should get the award for most annoying player ever. Wrote while at the stoplight. Please forgive the errors. I just couldn't believe you were still on the subject.
Listen, I'm gonna be
Thank
honest.
you for texting while not driving at a stop. At least being at a stoplight, putting that together.
Listen, you're right about one thing. At least for me, there is a bias. I'm gonna tell you.
Against
I'm
Vanderbilt.
No, for Vanderbilt.
Oh, okay.
That's a bias for Vanderbilt, for Diego, because you can't listen. I've watched when we all have watched Pavia for the last 2 years, especially this season, and there is going to be this innate bias that you have, but it's not going to cause me to blindly just throw away anything that Pavia may not have accomplished on the field and say, oh, he should win it no matter what. Listen, he has proven to me at least, and I know there are a lot of other people out there that feel the same. That's why he's going to New York. He's proven to me that he may just be the most valuable person on his team. And he is, if not, because it's not just about passing the football, throwing the football, even though his numbers stack up too, but it's about those other things that he does so well. Lamar Jackson won the Heisman. Why? Because he was a dual threat player. Hell of a quarterback, can run with the ball. Travis Hunter, he won. Why? Because he was dual threat. Diego Pavia is the same thing. He's a dual threat player. Not only does he do it from the pocket, he's shown he can, he also do it outside the pocket with his legs. Those intangible things that he does that I don't think, a lot of people take note of, but he has proven that whether he wins it or not, that he was or is this season, if not the best player, he was in the top 2 or 3 as far as best players in college football. And that means a lot. Now, I know he wants the hardware that would be, a stamp on it. But listen, there's a bias there, but my bias isn't a blind bias, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think, look, everybody has biases depending on where you are, where you grew up, who you rooted for. This whole, and Adam, you are a trained journalist, right? You are trained to be objective and try to put all that aside.
Yes.
But everybody's human at the same time. You have to try to sift through and ask yourself, are you being fair? Like there's a difference between knowing that you have some built-in biases and still being able to make objective points within that. But I mean, is that guy most annoying player? Obviously, he's not. He's clearly not a Vanderbilt fan. I don't know if he's a Tennessee fan or something like that. I get the turnoff by some. Diego Pavia is not for everybody, especially if you are rooting against him. But look, this is a legit story, right? This is the week to talk about it. Are we still talking about it? Yeah, because the vote's still on.
They hadn't.
Like I promise, we're not going to be talking about this in 2 weeks. So if we do that, then that guy's going to run off the road.
Well, the texter has responded and said, we've heard it all over and over ad nauseum, and that's the point.
It's the week of the voting.
Yes, the week of the voting. We
Voting
gotta
is
still
still
talk
open.
about it. I get what you're saying, but to the texter, there are also people that haven't heard this.
Right.
that are probably listening for the first time.
And now some self-reflection from the texter saying, I kept it going. Ugh, that's true. You brought this on yourself. If you wouldn't have texted that, maybe we would have moved on to something else. This
You
is on
kept
you.
us here, texter. Thank you for texting that, though. But
He loves it.
Yes.
He loves us. You love us. It's all good.
And look, as you said, Willie, Diego Pavia is not for everybody. He's brash. He's loud. But you know what he did this season? He backed it up.
Remember, that was a big thing at SEC Media Day. Coach Willie was very conflicted.
Yes.
Right? And I was saying the question I had before the season started, all of the extra attention for what he did last year and all the extra benefits that come with that, with NIL. Like, don't think for a moment that going from an unknown to what he did after that first year didn't get him a big, big raise in payment and a different outlook on life with, life-changing kind of money, at least in the short term.
Look.
So what did he do with it, right? Does he stay hungry? Does he stay the underdog? Does he stay the feisty guy? Does he get the big head and say, hey, what am I doing after the game? Like he still does all that. He was at the, what was he at? UFC?
Yeah.
Like you see him at the first row of the Predators. Like he's everywhere, but he did not lose the eye of the tiger one bit.
And
that's impressive.
He made headlines this summer. We talked about it when he went on Bussin' with the Boys and said Vanderbilt is going to run the state of Tennessee. And guess what? Had Vanderbilt gone to Tennessee a couple of weeks ago and pooped their pants, for lack of a better phrase, Vols fans listening, that you would have come for Pavia. We would have heard it on the phone line, seen it on the text line, and you would have been justified for feeling that way. But what did Diego Pavia do? He went into Neyland Stadium and he whipped that ass. That's what he did. He backed it up. And he did have a couple of rough performances against Alabama, early on against Texas, and Vanderbilt isn't in the college football playoff. But you cannot deny that Diego Pavia talked the talk and he walked the walk. So you can be annoyed by him. I get it. But you cannot deny the fact that by and large he backed it up.
And that's what you want to see. If you're going to come out and proclaim all of these things and be that brass, then you got to back it up. And he did. We talk about being on certain shows, Bussin' with the Boys, or when he went on SEC Media, SEC channel, and told on the Feinbaum show and told him, hey, listen, this is what I see for my team.
Paul Feinbaum thought he was kidding.
Yeah, and he
when
thought he was
said,
kidding.
Our goal is to win the national
and
championship.
He thought it was kidding.
Which unfortunately isn't going to happen.
But it wasn't because of, it's not for the lack of them not being they were a damn good team.
Yes. Yes. It wasn't like he said that and they went 3-9.
Exactly. Absolutely.
They went 10-2. They had the best season in program history.
And honestly, do you think Paul Feinbaum, as he was listening to that, thought there was any way that Vanderbilt would do anything more than maybe go 7-5 at best, with the schedule that at the time looked as daunting as it did?
Probably not.
They overachieved the best case scenario by at least 3 games.
Yes.
One texter, Josh, and I'm prefacing this by saying Josh is saying this, not me. I'm only reading the text. Pavia's mom is hot. Give him the Heisman.
Did you go in there and look for that text?
It's the first text on the text line right now. I don't know many Joshes. It says, and I quote, Pavia's mom is hot. Give him the Heisman. That was me reading his text. That was not me saying it.
I think there's one particular person you want to make sure they know
exactly.
Absolutely.
Love you.
Hopefully she's not listening.
Yes.
No, I mean,
that doesn't count in the Heisman voting, but I get your point, Josh.
No, it doesn't.
I get your point, Josh. One texter says, in aspects of the Heisman, I didn't see, or in regards to the Heisman, I believe is what the texter means. I didn't see anything out of Mendoza that showed me that he won the game against Ohio State. He played well, but Diego puts Vanderbilt on his shoulders. Mendoza doesn't seem like he can shoulder the load so much, and it's more Kirk Cignetti. Again, I don't watch enough Indiana football to be able to tell you one way or another. His stat line in the game wasn't impressive, just looking at the box score, but that's why you can't just look at the box score. Mendoza made some outstanding critical throws, including that throw at the end of the game, which Derek said was his Heisman moment. So I'm not going to take that away from Mendoza.
Well, it was a hard-nosed defensive field position battle. Just like there were people saying, well, let's take the Vanderbilt Missouri game, which is a similar kind of game. Pavia's numbers weren't great in that game, but nobody's offensive numbers were great in that game. And Pavia made the key plays. He scored a big touchdown at the end. And it was just a great college football game. Just like Saturday night was a great college football game. So sometimes it goes beyond did you pass for 300 yards or something like that, right? You have to look at let it beyond the numbers on the sheet.
One texter says, this is nothing new with Vandy. Before Penn State joined the Big Ten, yes, I'm old. They were snubbed for national championships numerous times. That's Wayne, and that's Wayne on our text line.
And then Penn State got smart and said, you know what? Let's go join the Big Ten. They joined the Big Ten in 1994.
I think that's right.
Yeah,
now they did win some national titles before they were in the Big Ten. So
exactly.
the texture is right. They were snubbed a few times, but there were times
they had
when they got in there.
and they felt they had to get into a conference after that. Yeah.
615-737-1025 will take your thoughts on the college football playoff bracket, the Heisman Trophy race, the Titans win. All of it is on the table. 615-737-1025. We'll wrap up the show. Coming up next, Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 1025 The Game.
Hey, the best financial move you can make this time of the year is lowering your mortgage rate to 4.99% fixed APR, the lowest rate in years. You can get up to $500,000 out of your home's equity in the process. If that's what you're looking for, it could be a lot lower than that. It could be whatever you need. So call Loan Pronto right now and look at this, because if you got stuck with a higher mortgage rate the last couple of years, you need to call Loan Pronto right now. 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. With Loan Pronto's rapid equity loan, you can get the cash out, pay off the high interest credit cards that could be piling up, and skip up to 2 house payments. So that is going to set you on a good course for 2026. Act now. Loanpronto.com or call 615-499-5780. Start the new year by wiping out that higher interest debt and lowering your bills by thousands. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, APR for well-qualified buyers. Visit NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
Mace Vingan and Donick, 1025 The Game. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan here with you, wrapping up at the Circus Sportsbook, Kentucky. If you're looking for a place to watch the Monday night football matchup between the Eagles and the Chargers, a solid matchup tonight. 2 8-4 teams on Monday Night Football. If you're looking for a place to watch the game, come on up to the Circus Sportsbook, Kentucky. Just a short drive from Nashville, Tennessee. John on our text line says, Penn State's first year in the Big Ten was 1993. That was my freshman year, and I was at the first game. 1994 was when they got hosed after going undefeated.
Yes, you're right.
But Nebraska
Yeah.
also went undefeated. It was voted number one all before the BCS.
Yes, you're right. We didn't play them. We played them my sophomore year. That's why I thought it was 94. I don't think we played Penn State my freshman year.
Let's go to Tim on our phone line, driven by Wilson County, Hyundai.com. Tim, thank you for calling. Go ahead.
Hey guys, this deal with and the texter that's sent in about Pavia, we all know who he roots for, and he's just butthurt because they got beat. But let me throw out a little thing. Right now, Pavia is accounted for and helped Vanderbilt in 2 seasons win 17 games. We win the bowl game, we're going to win 18 games in 2 seasons. I've seen guys with 4 and 5 year careers at Vanderbilt that hadn't won 18 games in their career. This kid will make a pitch on an auction and go downfield and lay his body on the line to block somebody. He does whatever it takes to win the game.
Thank you for the call, Tim.
These are the things you see every week if you watch him. It is different. It is different than anybody else, really. Like once again, I've watched some Indiana games. I haven't watched all of them. But Mendoza just looks like a great college quarterback who could be a really good pro someday. But the question is, how do you value the ability to run and do all of those things, like the blocks, the pitches on the option that are perfectly timed, the understanding of the offense, elevating everybody around him? I don't know if Mendoza really measures up in those things.
One texter says, with the formula that was given to the committee with all of the requirements to get in, they got it right. That's the part that everyone's missing with everything that was agreed upon going to the 12-team playoff. They get it right whether you think it's the best 12 or not. Also, nobody got snubbed. If you win, you get in. If everyone had a schedule, you get a chance to go beat your teams and you get in. Simple.
You can't get wrong. Right? I don't think there's anybody in there that's completely undeserving of being in there.
The explanation.
There's always going to be extra. So if they're going to, in Carolina, there was the guy. There's always that guy. Hey, they just need to go to 16. I was like, if they go to 16, there'll be twice as many teams that feel like they get screwed. So it's a no-win situation. I just want to see a better process where somebody can say, look, it was a tough decision. We had to make tough decisions. Here's what we did, and make more sense, because they don't make any sense.
Now, Rex wrote a column for The Athletic, and I hope I am summarizing it properly. The College Football Playoff Committee needs significantly more transparency.
Yes.
We need to know exactly what numbers they're looking at, which numbers they prioritize over others. We know about strength of schedule and strength of record and all of those things. But there are other factors that go into making these decisions that we are not privy to. I think the College Football Playoff Committee needs to be much more transparent than it has been, because the explanations from the committee chairs have been terrible, especially terrible this season. We talked about it last week. I'm not trying to trigger Willie here, but the whole thing about, Vanderbilt doesn't have a signature win after beating Tennessee. Well, it was a signature win at the time. You moved them out of the college football top 25, so now it's not a signature win? Like something like that. The explanation.
Right, and at the same time, talk about Miami or Notre Dame's win over Pitt as a signature win. When we know, and Hunter Yurachek knows, that Pitt and Tennessee on a neutral field, Tennessee is a significant favorite.
And in the week that Tennessee hosted Vanderbilt and Miami played Pitt, Tennessee was ranked higher in the playoff rankings than Pitt. Tennessee was, I believe, 19th. Pitt was 22nd.
So you can't float BS past people who watch this stuff like a hawk. That's the thing that I don't understand why these guys don't get this. Mitch Light made a good point last week. He's like, these people aren't radio guys. They're not TV people. They don't talk for a living necessarily. They probably have good enough communication skills to become an athletic director or whatever. But man, I've heard a lot of committee chairs. That is the worst job I've ever seen of communicating the process. It's not even close.
But there's no, I mean, listen, there's no penalty for them if they seem to have gotten it wrong or if the message was all bungled and came out all wrong. There's no like repercussions for them. So, you think they're going to change? Probably not. There's always going to be something in there that comes in last minute. Oh, we thought about this, and this is how we're going to rank them. It's like, again, y'all keep moving. It's not even that y'all moving the goalpost further back. Y'all just moving it around. It's like y'all moving it within. It's just like stick to like a few things and base it on that instead of saying, well, no, we got to add this in here or we got to delete this or it works for that conference, but it doesn't work for that conference.
Well, one point that was made yesterday when the College Football Playoff Committee explained how Miami got in over Notre Dame. They talked about the head-to-head. The College Football Playoff Committee has known about Miami's win against Notre Dame for 3 months. It didn't just happen.
That was pointed out a bunch of places.
It's just because I believe Notre Dame came in at number 10 in the initial rankings and Miami was 18th. And over time, Miami closed the gap. They just didn't decide to pull out the head-to-head card until they were right next to each other. But Miami, by that logic, should have been ahead of Notre Dame the entire time. It shouldn't have been, oops, now you guys are next to each other for the first time. Sorry, Notre Dame. That is another example of the committee tying itself into knots to try to make a point. Caleb on our text line about the group of 5 members of the college football playoff. No one wants to watch it, and the inclusive stuff is for the birds. Not every team is a big dog team. It's a privilege, not a handout, to be in a place where you can play for it all.
Listen, it's not like they've earned it. Now they went and they did what they were like teams like JMU or Tulane.
Yeah,
it's not like they earned it. They went and they played their schedule and they beat the teams on their schedule and then they won their championship, their conference championship game. So it's not like, we're just going to give it to you just because. No, they went out and played their games. Now, with that, do you think that, them getting in it'll be a good game with who they're going to play in a playoff? Probably not, but that doesn't mean that they didn't do the things that were required of them to do. They did everything they were required to do. And when they got a chance to fill out their application to one of the colleges, if I'm a student, they got in. Why? Because they did exactly what they were supposed to do during high school and then on a test, and they did everything. So it was like, okay, we got to put them in.
How do we
leave them out?
I'm just hoping that Tulane and JMU give Ole Miss and Oregon competitive games.
It would be best for the committee if they do.
Yes.
Right. Because as I said earlier, if Ole Miss does what it did to Tulane in September and win 45-10 at home, we're going to have problems.
So one more point about the head-to-head, because I've seen committees, they waffle and they cherry pick when it's time to bring up the head-to-head. That's the criticism here is they've known, like you said, since August 31st that Miami did indeed beat Notre Dame.
Yes.
Down at the Orange Bowl, which I think is significant. That's a detail. It was at home. If that game were at Notre Dame, could it have been different? Vanderbilt lost 2 games both on the road. If those games were at home, could it have been different? Maybe. But that's the schedule. But if it's a 2-team comparison between Miami and Notre Dame, it's easier to use the head-to-head and make yourself look smart. Oh, yeah. But it's arbitrary that you make it a 2-team comparison. If you did a blind resume of Miami, Notre Dame, and Vanderbilt, you took the names off the screen, and you put the strength of schedule, the strength of record, all of those metrics, then it's a 3-team discussion and with one spot. That takes away the significance of the head-to-head. So it's a tricky one for a committee. And once again, that's where I think Vanderbilt would have their best argument. But conveniently, they took Vanderbilt out of the discussion the week before. They never let Vanderbilt into the discussion. even though their strength of schedule and strength of record is better than Notre Dame and Miami. That's not bias. That's not subjective. That is objective with the numbers. But they made it easier. Oh, let's find out. How do we get Vanderbilt out of this conversation? Oh, we can move Tennessee out of the rank. Oh, they don't have a signature win. Let's put them off to the side. Oh, now we can decide between Notre Dame and Miami. Oh, head to head, we can bring that in there. It's all convenience. It's bait and switch.
I don't think there was really ever a true consideration for Vanderbilt.
Nope.
I don't think there
nope.
was. Nice story. Coach did a great job. Diego, he's entertaining and all of this, but nah.
It's Vanderbilt.
It's Vanderbilt.
Willie, will you do us the honors and give us one more?
It's Vanderbilt.
Which one do you want?
What you heard David and
Okay,
Garrett
you
just
can't lose to Vanderbilt.
Not Vanderbilt.
We got to win national championships, and we got to do better at our coach. And you can't lose to Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt shouldn't even be in the SEC.
But you know what? I'm going to be watching the ReliaQuest Bowl New Year's Eve against Iowa and beautiful Tampa, Florida. I will be cheering on the Commodores in that game. But that'll do it for us today. Great participation, as always, on our phone and text lines. We will be live at Bridgestone Arena tomorrow. Predators host the league-leading Colorado Avalanche. A rare nationally televised game for the Nashville Predators.
8:30.
Willie gets the night off.
Get a little nap in the afternoon.
For the 8:30 p.m. Central start. In that game, Barry Trotz will join us live from Barrel House. Trevor Maddich will join us as well. We will talk to you tomorrow at 3 o'clock.
Be love on your people. Have a safe, blessed, and wonderful day. I love you. The team loves you. You hear that song. Don't you ever forget about us, because we will not forget about you. See you tomorrow, 3 p.m. on 102.5 The Game. Peace.
All right, I got a bowl. I'll see you guys.
All right.